In the last video, we were talking about kinds of procedures, and we talked about primitive procedures and the procedures you write yourself, and then we were looking at dividing primitive procedures into commands and reporters, and we saw that some commands don't need any input, some reporters don't need any input. And some do. So the forward command needs an input. The reporter sum needs two inputs. And we saw that as soon as a reporter gets all of its inputs, it'll try to it'll output the answer, but if you don't have a command in front of it, then it doesn't know what to do with the answer. And since xcore doesn't need any inputs, xcore immediately comes back with this I don't know what to do with. Okay, so now we want to look at commands and commands and reporters that you write yourself, and how do you make a command or a reporter that needs inputs. And how do you make a reporter that has outputs? So we're going to talk about that for a second. So the first procedure I want to look at is this one called triangle, and it says repeat 3, forward 100, right 120. I'm going to say PD. I want to put the pen down because I want to draw the triangle, and then I'm going to type in triangle and press return, and it drew the triangle. So the fact that I could put triangle right at the beginning of the line in the command center and press enter and it works, that tells me that it's a command. I didn't get any message saying I don't know what to do with 7 or something like that. So it came back and did, and it made a change in the world. Right now there's a triangle here on the picture. So it has to be a command. And also I noticed that it doesn't need any inputs, because I was able to just say triangle and it did it. Okay, so let me clear that off. So that's an example of how you'd write a command that doesn't take any inputs. Let's take a look at this guy, poly. So it says poly side angle. This is kind of a fun one to play with because you can give it a lot of different choices. Now, notice this thing, these words right here with a colon in front of them: colon side and colon angle. So what this means is that poly is a procedure that takes two inputs. One of them side and one of them angle. We're going to go forward side and right angle. So let's just try something out here. So we have our pen down, right, and we'll say poly. I don't know. Let's say poly 50, 144. So let's see what happens. Oh, draws a star. What do you know? That's pretty cool. So and notice it went forever, so I had to hit stop all because we got this forever going here. So this, what happens if I just say poly? What happens? Poly needs more inputs. So just like with, if you say forward and it needs more inputs, if you say poly, it's going to say poly needs more inputs, because what did we do? We're telling foo that when you want to do poly, you need two inputs. This is going to be your first input, and this is going to be your second input. Okay, so just like some commands need inputs, right? Or set pause, that needs input. That needs a list, right? Just like some of the primitive commands need inputs, you can write your own procedures that need inputs. So this is a procedure that needs two inputs. Okay. You can. So how does this work? Well, what happens is, if you input, so here I happen to input, the inputs I gave it was 50 and 144. So I'm saying forever, forward 50, write 144, because 50 was my first input and 144 was my second. So every place inside this procedure where you see the word side, it's going to get replaced with 50 and 144. So let's try a different one here. If I said poly 20 and 71. Let's pick something weird. What does that do? Whoa. What's going on there? It's kind of hard to see. So maybe if I made the sides bigger. Let's make the sides 171. What does that do? Ooh, even then it fills it right in, doesn't it? So you can try playing around with different numbers and see what they do. Also, you know what? Let me do this. Let's say we want to be able to draw a triangle of different sizes. Okay? So right now, if I say triangle, it draws a triangle that goes, I go forward 100 each time and right 120. But what if I wanted to change it so I could make it different sizes? So I could say side here, and instead of 100, I could say side here. And now when I say triangle, it says triangle needs more inputs, because I'm saying, yeah, I want an input here. I want you to write something for side. So now if I say triangle 100, it draws that size of a triangle. If I say triangle 50, it makes a smaller triangle. Or if I say triangle 25, it makes a smaller one. It's harder to see if I'm doing it like that. But see, that's the 25. That's the 50. Okay, so you can change the size of it. That's kind of cool, right? Or you could say repeat for, let's say, triangle 30, RT 60. See what that does. Oh, kind of cool. Maybe we should repeat that 6 times. So that's another thing. Once you've written these procedures, right, you can play with them. You can play with them however you would play with a regular procedure. Look at that. That's kind of a cool design, right? So then I got distracted. The main thing I wanted to talk about here was that you can write commands and reporters, and I'll talk about reporters in the next video. But you can write commands and reporters that might need 0 inputs. If we put it back to this way, if we don't put any inputs, we don't list any possible inputs over here, then we can just draw it. We can just execute the command without any inputs, or we can make it so it needs inputs. Okay, and then in the next video, I'll talk about the reporters.